So, hello, Stefy.
Hey, Ryan.
Hiya, welcome to Dopamine Hunters. Thank you for having the time to do this for me. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to do a quick little intro. For anyone listening who doesn't know your story, you're a three-time women's motocross world champion, one of the fastest women ever to race a dirt bike, and someone who had her whole career taken away in one crash and then managed to rebuild a completely new life. Today, using Init Sports and Init Esports to open doors in motorsport and sim racing for people who would never normally get a chance. Women, underrepresented communities, increasingly neurodivergent kids as well. Dopamine Hunters is all about those brains that come alive around speed, risk, and focus, and how we can turn that into something healthy and meaningful instead of being destructive. So I'd love to dive into your journey from dirt bike to digital and how your work now lines up with this idea of dopamine hunters and around the world.
That
Okay,
sounds fantastic. Yes, that sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
no worries. You were a three-time world motocross world champion, raced in the US, and even lined up with the men in a male-dominated sport. When you look back now, what kind of brain did it take to live at that level of risk and intensity every weekend?
Well, that's a very good question, Ryan. And I would like to bring it back to a very early age because I think that my parents did a very good job with me, meaning that they were able to support me at a very young age and always put me in a position to believe in myself. So therefore, build confidence and just always go for what I love. So when you start at a young age, to live a life like that, and I choose motocross as my, place that I wanted to be, then everything kind of like falls into place because you feel like that what you're doing is what you have a passion for. And by having a passion, everything that happens, like speed and strategy and,
Yeah.
training. It's just part of your life at that point. And it's very empowering. And I feel very lucky that it all started that young, at a young age through my parents.
So cool. So cool to be talking to you, by the way. Right,
The
here
pleasure
we
is
go
mine.
then. Next question. Your career ended overnight with that massive injury in 2005, where doctors even talked about amputating your legs. How did you manage the crash from full gas motocross life to suddenly having everything stop in terms of mental health and identity? I know these are deep questions, Steffi. I'm hoping you're okay with them.
Yeah, yeah, I'm absolutely okay, and I
Yeah,
like to talk about it because a lot of the time it's a part that gets hidden, especially by the media. If you are a top athlete and
really.
something happens to
Mm.
you, they never really talk of what really is happening,
Yeah,
and so I'm happy to be able to share my story with you and also to the people listening. So,
thank you.
as you mentioned, I had a career-ending injury. So, what that means for somebody that is an athlete is that in a split of a second, everything I knew in my life up to that point ended.
Yeah,
And you're never prepared for this, never. Because first, I would say that as an athlete, you always think that you're going to be the best thing ever and continue to do it forever, because it's where
yeah,
you put every single breath that you take every day into it. It's all about that thing. And for me, was, racing motorcycle. So when you live a life like that, and then you understand that there are risks because motocross is a hard sport. So you get
yeah.
hurt often.
I fell
The
off
rule,
3 times on Sunday,
yeah, see?
and I
So
broke 3 ribs last year, but nothing compared to what you've done.
you always crash, but then you get up and do it again. It's when you ended up to be in the position that you can get up that
Yeah,
becomes very difficult. So
yeah,
for me, I did go in a dark place for a little while
yeah,
because like I was mentioning, like the life that I knew up to that point ended. And
It
at one
must have
point,
been it must have been really, really hard, especially, like, being at that level that you were at, you know? And to come over to get through that and to come out of that, the other side, and now doing what you're doing now, I mean, it just shows, like, what sort of person you are and what sort of mindset that takes to be that sort of person, to overcome something like that, you know? It's quite
yeah, I mean,
it's quite amazing.
like anything in life, like if you take stuff and that happens to you and you take it in a negative way, then I feel that you're gonna be always position yourself that something is short in your life.
This is
But if you can take the positive out of a negative, like then the perspective of life change. And that is what I was able to do. It wasn't easy because, of course, I think it's normal human behavior that when something very bad happened to you, you go in a dark place because you don't know. It's specifically because you don't know what's coming
Mhm.
next, right? And in my case, again, my career ended on that jump. And then I'm like, okay, now what? What is going to happen? Like in my life, I felt that I lost my identity, like I was a
Really?
racer up until that point, and then
Yeah,
realizing really with the split of the second that I'm not going to be a racer anymore. So you can get very lost, and that happened, like you just
yeah,
have that feeling, like I said. So who is Steffi now? Like what am I going to do, with the rest
yeah,
of my life,
yeah.
I can say that I was very lucky to have again my parents and my support network around me that helped me start to look more in the positive of things,
Mhm.
and focus on the present, which was the recovery. So really try to walk again first.
Yeah.
And once I was able to achieve that, I like to say that thanks to the people around me, I came to the understanding that I had a very great career up until I was 28 years old when I had the accident. So I was given a chance to start another successful career
Yeah.
from 28.
And it's good that you do that. You turn talking about turning a negative into a positive. There's always that's something that I've been working on myself and with my children, especially trying to keep that in your mindset that for every failure there's always a positive that you can find. It's just finding it. And most success comes from multiple failures. Dopamine Hunters is all about people who use speed, risk, and focus as a way to regulate their brains. When you think of your younger self in motocross, do you recognize traits now that might fit what we'd call neurodivergent today? And this is no way me saying that you are or not. I'm just wondering because we're exploring the spectrums, so to speak, is part of our research that I want to do. That at the end of the
Yeah.
day, there's a lot of overlap between people's brains. This it's all about labeling and not labeling and this sort of stuff. So, do you recognise traits now that might fit what we'd call neurodivergent today, like hyperfocus, risk seeking, difficulty switching off? Did you have any of them?
Yes. So, like my experience again, since I started at a very young age and I got tossed into this sport by choice,
Yeah.
which is all what you said, is risk, is adrenaline, is speed, is decision making, is confidence, right?
Yes.
So, having grown up like that, that's the basically the only thing I knew, like as an individual. And I was applying that to anything I ever done, in my
Yeah.
life. I
Hmm.
was able to apply what the sport gave me also in schools. So hyper focusing, like be able to be making decision, doubt yourself,
Hmm.
and keep going for what you need to do. And I think sport in general does that to you, which I feel that for people that are on the spectrum and they are neurodivergent, it's very important to do sports, whatever that sport is,
Yeah.
because what sport does to you, it gives you this space where you can focus and you can focus on yourself. And
Yes.
there is nothing else because
Mhm.
the result is determined about your capabilities.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yes, in a race, there are other racer with you, but at the end of the day, it's you, what you do
Yeah.
on that motorcycle that determine,
Exactly.
your outcome, your final results. So
Yeah.
sports, I think, is very important. I feel I was, again, lucky that I got into sport and my sport of choice was motocross. But anything I learn by doing that sport is what I am applying every day in my professional life.
I'm so glad that sort of like I knew you would resonate with it anyway. I mean, there's not a person at the track, and I speak to girls as well. By the way, I'm quite friendly with the girls racers at the track at the club, and everybody's the same. I mean, motorbikes and motorbikes, especially dirt bikes, it is such a release. I mean, I look forward to every weekend. I mean, just at our level, it's brilliant. It's awesome. And my little boy loves it as well. Now he's getting into it. It's just so, do you know, every weekend, yeah, something to look forward to. And yeah, you crash and you hope that you pick yourself up. But for the brain, I think sport like you say is just you need that release, especially with a brain that is seeking that sort of like speed and intensity and risk and rewards sort of basis. I'm just going to go straight into this question 4. So it's talking a bit about what you do at the moment, I think. So in its sports and in its sports now create pathways into motorsport through sim racing, screen to speed, and sim for STEM, especially for women and underrepresented groups. How do you see sim racing as a healthier dopamine outlet compared to the traditional, expensive, and sometimes dangerous route that you and I grew up around, being motocross?
Yes, I think that sim racing it's a easier way to get involved in motorsport because
Yeah,
first and foremost, motorsport as a whole is expensive. So, you have to buy a motorcycle and the gear and the vehicle
yeah,
to bring the motorcycle to the track and track fees and whatever. And if
yeah,
you do it with a cart, is the same, right? If
yeah,
probably more expensive, like the motorcycle.
yeah,
But, like that kind of like put the sport in the end or just a certain demographic, right? And as
hmm,
being a woman that has had success in a sport that they is male
hmm,
dominated, I
hmm,
always look for ways to bring more women and opportunities.
hmm,
So with that in mind, the sim racing, I feel that gives you that option
yeah,
because it's a fraction of the cost to get involved, because a sim and equipment for the sim and the
yeah,
game cost way less,
yeah,
than the real thing. It takes away from some parents, the fear factor, of
exactly,
getting
yeah,
hurt in the real sport, but the intensity is the same
yeah,
because
it's still
once
there.
you are behind the wheel, of a simulator,
Hmm.
that you're simulating being a Formula One car,
Takes them to that environment.
it's just the
Yeah, yeah,
same, really close to the same thing, right?
yeah.
Yes, you don't have the
In
speed.
a safer capacity as
Exactly.
well.
You don't have
Yeah,
the speed, against
yeah,
you, but anything the simulation games provide is exactly
hmm,
the same that happens in real life. So for me, this is a great opportunity for kids to get involved in something where they can focus, they can
exactly.
learn, they can be successful, but
Yeah,
taking away the fear factor to it. Then you and me know that once you
yeah,
are in this industry, there is no escaping. So eventually, eventually people then will start to do the real thing, right? But
yeah.
at the same time, it opens up more opportunity and give ways for people that otherwise will not, to get involved.
And I definitely think it's an outlet for people that need that sort of they chase that sort of thing in life. And like you say, you've covered the bases on what I'm saying, but it's an easier access for someone that might not have the access normally. And it's really great you're bringing it to schools and bringing it into an environment where it can be crossed over for education. And I think that's important. I mean, that's definitely where I was sort of like looking at with the whole mindset of being a racer generally, and especially to do with sort of like, you know, the way that you focus, the way you have to look after your physical health and your mental health on and off of the track, I think. And I think sim racing has definitely come on in such a way that you can see that that's crossing over to the kids. And the racing drivers that I talk to, everyone's sort of singing from the same hymn sheet.
Hmm.
That's a very simple way to put it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go on to the next question. You've talked about lowering the barrier to entry so anyone from any background can give it a try in motorsport. If we zoom in specifically on neurodivergent kids with ADHD and autism and sensory seeking, what do you think sim environments can offer them that the real paddocks don't? Um, I know we've sort of covered this, and I just do you want to? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I like to speak by bringing some example that I have experienced, like
Yeah,
myself. So sometimes when we do our Sim for STEM program, we get kids that they might be autistic or neurodivergent.
yeah,
And with that, we have noticed that their capability to focus, in their
mm,
own space on that
mhm,
simulator, it becomes such a successful outcome for what they
yeah,
could potentially be doing for jobs. So, like, if you think about engineering, like in a simulator, they can learn all of that, and
yeah,
potentially, they can be ready to be employed by a team, but
yeah,
they can do this at
exactly.
home, right?
No,
So they don't have to be within a noisy environment, like
mhm,
they can
mhm,
just focus on what they are great at. And with the interconnectivity of the world that we live in nowadays, this
yeah.
becomes an opportunity to get, way of generate a living, like on something that you have a passion on, by even doing it at home, through the simulation aspect.
That's that's amazing. That it's just great that it's coming on leaps and bounds this way. That it's going to actually be able to create these avenues for kids like this, you know, and it's only going to get better. I mean, I know we've pretty much covered that base. I'm very, very overwhelmed with the fact that what you're doing because it's there's guys over here that are doing the similar thing, but it seems to me that you're really pushing the boundaries on it and exploring it, and it's important, you know, because I think that the environments in the classrooms for the 20% of kids that are just not heard and probably internally in their brain that are quite fast in their brain, but not necessarily the ones that are rushing around the room, they're the ones that need to be in those chairs and probably going to get the best out of it. And it's about self esteem and confidence, you know, because I think a
Hmm.
lot of these kids today they're sat in these classrooms and they're normally overpacked classrooms of teachers, overwhelmed with having to teach so many kids, and they just get lost and they don't know what they want to do. Some of them, and I'm not saying we got to make them all a racing driver, all of them a motocross rider, but like you say, I think that environment of being on your own and just being able to lock in on something like that, there's definitely a way of harnessing that to bring it over into well, like you say, in employment in things like engineering, you know, and not necessarily have to be good at mathematics or English, but find that out that they're good at pattern recognition
Right.
or they're very good at image based learning and memory from image. Because at the end of the day, you will know, and I know, memorizing the track and where the ruts are and where the corners are, and knowing that the racing line is part of the sport. You
Hmm.
know? But you're not reading it like a textbook, you're reading the image and it's coming at you fast, isn't it? You know? So, it's like that sort of thing needs to be celebrated in a classroom as opposed
Hmm.
to just being overlooked as some kid staring out a window daydreaming, you know?
Right.
That's what just food for thought there. Sorry, I went off on a little bit of a
No,
you know?
like, but you have a good point. I do believe that everybody learn differently. Like
Yeah.
we are not the same. So people
No, no.
learn differently, and I think the education system, nowadays needs to kind of like change up a little bit because
100%.
right now it's just made in a way that one fits all. But we know that that
Exactly.
doesn't work,
No.
which is why what we try to do, we try to put the kids in a position for them to succeed based on their best skills, right? And not necessarily
Exactly.
how it works for everyone,
No.
but like more like how it works for you. And you were having
Well,
a
this
good point about the visual a second ago, because
yeah.
that it's about experiential learning. So like
Yes.
you learn by doing, and
Yes.
like and however you solve a quest that is in front of you, it can be
Mhm.
different depending on how you come to it. Somebody's visual, somebody's mathematical, somebody is
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are just sound. Some people are just sound, And they're gonna just by sound or I mean, obviously we've got lots of senses, but yeah, it's also about distraction as well, I find, especially with ADHD. It's what I'm struggling with. Like even at 45, 46 years old, it's got worse as I've got older. It's almost I don't know whether my hearing's got worse because because my hearing's it's just really sensitive. I get sensory overload, and then you get distracted, and it's hard to retain information. But it's strange when you're in an environment like a race car or a crash. Let's just say a crash helmet. When you put your crash helmet on, even though the engines or the whatever could be around you could be really loud, but it almost actually goes quiet.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's so much to explore about how the brain works when they're in that environment. And that's what we're trying to do. And I'm not sure you probably on your to-do list as well. But I want to basically get some way of us doing brain scans at a track to see what's going on in your brain when you're coming on and off of the track and what you're capable of doing cognitively when you come off of the track to opposed to going on it. So it's exploring what a neurotypical, neurodivergent, whether it be autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, whatever. Because I do believe that we got all these labels, and like you say, everybody's different. But there's such a big overlap, and there's so much more to explore with the brain. And we know that the environment, people are a product of their environment.
Mhm.
Generally, you learn in, like you say, you was brought up around motocross. It was if you was took to the track since you was 3 years old and you was stuck on a motorbike every time, you're gonna ride motorbikes.
Yeah,
And if the
exactly.
kid is taken to a football ground, a soccer ground every day, he's gonna play soccer. You know.
Hmm.
But so you're a product of your environment, but whether you're any good at it or not, that's the difference. And it's
Yes.
like, or whether you're actually excel at something and what can bring that on, what actually stimulates the brain to learn in a way that it should. I mean, it's like personally, I struggle with sleep with ADHD. I know that in the morning, a lot of the work that I'm doing with dopamine hunters and with all my writing, all my LinkedIn stuff, I get my best work done at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because it's when I'm most switched on.
Hmm.
Now, does that mean? I mean, you could answer this. Here's a question, and this is totally off topic of this. I'm guessing you raced all around the world. Did you do any? Because I don't know. Did you do any MXGP as well, or did you just race in
Yes.
California? You did. So you
Yes.
rate, of course you did, because you're Italian. So, but did you find going to different countries at different times and racing at different times of the day affected your racing?
No, it didn't. To me, it did not. And I explain to
No?
you why.
Okay.
Once is because once you start going around the world that much,
Yeah.
and again, your brain is trained to um
Adapt.
feel and adapt, like because you're doing for your
Yeah.
passion, right?
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't become heavy at all, like so.
No.
But you always like when you put your helmet on, that is when the switch goes on. So it can be
Yeah.
anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
it can be any time of the day and night. But that is the time in motorcycle racing or in car racing that once the helmet is on, everything else stops.
Yeah. you step up to the plate, don't you? I get it. I get it. The thing is, yeah. I mean, I guess what I was trying to say more about, not necessarily with the races, probably not the best crossover. What I'm trying to say is, I just know what I want to find out is if people at certain times of the day, if you was in an environment where you was in the country all the time, does a child learn better in the morning or in the middle of the day or in the evening, depending on who they are? I
I
mean, I
think
guess it would depend on how much rest they've had, what they've eaten, but again, like you're saying, the mindset that they're in, all of those things come into account, I guess.
yeah, I think there are so many factors in a question like this to keep in consideration. And I'm not any professional in the medical
No,
field, so I cannot really
and
say anything
neither am I. We're
at
just
that
talking.
level. But I can tell that potentially, I think the body has a way to tell us when we
Yeah.
work at the best. So for some people like you, it might be 3 in the morning. Why? I don't know, but it
Well,
might
it's
be
the
because
thing
it's
is,
the
this is the
moment when
thing.
it's quiet for you. I don't
Yeah.
know, and
Well,
other people. Go
it's
ahead.
to do
Sorry.
with the burnout part. That's what I was trying to get at, I think,
Mhm.
because with ADHD and autism, what people don't and what a lot of people don't understand is the amount of masking that goes on to try and get through a
Yeah.
day, to try to be in social situations they might not want to be in, and then they end up burning out a lot quicker. So they rest more. So they might need more rest at certain times of the day. So when you're in an environment like a classroom, an autistic child might not be, if you had to put it this way, if you had a sim racing lounge for them to go in, they might not be at the moment in the day when that would benefit them, you know?
Mhm.
And but listen, I'm literally just talking as I think. Welcome to ADHD, Ryan, basically with no medication. I'm still waiting for my medication. Hey, Steffi, I don't want to go off topic too much. I want to ask you the next question, right? So I'm going to go straight to it as soon as my phone loads back up because it disappeared. Um, so there's only three more questions left. I mean, I'm aware of the time. I don't want to go too much over the time. Both dopamine hunters and in it are trying to rewrite who belongs in motorsport from your motocross days. When you were often the only woman on the line to now running a woman only championships like screen to speed, what actually changed and still feels painfully the same? I don't even
That's
really understand that question myself, to be honest. If you want to answer it, I'm happy to leave that one out if you want. I don't know why that has come up like that. Did you understand that?
maybe what you're trying to say there is it was one woman among a lot of guys, but I also now have in my business a series that is just for women. So,
Yeah.
what is the difference and what is the comparison? Maybe that's where you were going for. And am I on the right track?
I think it is. It's like, I think it is about that. But to be honest, I don't know why my AI chose to pull that out of my dopamine hunters and cross it over, if I'm honest. I wish I vetted that one out. Don't worry. It's all right. I can edit. I'm gonna answer you the next question. Okay.
Okay.
I came back to motocross through sobriety and finally getting a language for ADHD. You went from factory rider to entrepreneur and advocate. What have extreme highs and brutal lows taught you about chasing dopamine in ways that build you rather than destroy you?
All your questions are packed with a lot of
Do you
deep
know what?
thoughts.
Listen, you don't have to answer it. We can just go straight on. They are. The thing is, I'm just going to say this. Right? Don't worry about the question too much because I'm not really that fussed because we've pretty much covered a lot of this stuff. When I wanted to, when I noticed knew who you was and I wanted to talk to you and I wanted to it was really shocking to me how much it aligned with what I was already looking into And it's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, there's somebody out there actually doing this. But not only that, she rides motocross bikes as well. And it was like quite cool. Because I didn't actually go out into the world and go, oh, I'm going to look at sim racing straight away. Or I didn't do that. That didn't happen. It happened organically and still haven't actually got into that world yet. It's more about the fact that the drivers, the racing drivers, the karting guys, they started coming towards the extreme sports side of what I was talking about with motocross. So I started interviewing the people, and then it grew like that. So the crossover, and now talking to you about it, it's just quite cool how it's sort of happened on its own. And I was quite upset with how the kids were getting not treated so much, just the way that they're dealing with neurodivergency in the schools. Think it's so archaic and backwards and just really slow. And I just immediately saw the crossover before, and then you came along. I was like, blinking heck, I've got to speak to Stefy, and I wanted to get your whole outlook on it. And it's just been really, really good talking to you. And I get the feeling I'd like to be able to talk to you again at some point further on down the line, because I feel like definitely with what your research, what you're doing, the fact that we're still making a documentary. I've actually acquired a really good cameraman today who's going to be filming me at Fox Hills as long as I can
Right.
stay fit on the 9th and 10th of May, which is great. And then we're going to be talking about ADHD and the racing mindset, filming people in the pits and stuff, and talking to people about how they feel about all of this stuff. And I think you'd be really, really interested to find out how it went and what happened. And yeah, maybe come on another part of, I don't know, whatever happens in the next 6 months to a year, see where
Yeah.
we're at, because it's just really cool. I mean, actually had a manager from one of the guys from the EMX, Lucas Moncrief, his name is. He's one of the up and coming like rookies coming up through the ranks now. His manager got in touch with me, and he's talking about coming on the show as well. So I'm hoping to gradually get these guys to come forward a bit more
Mhm.
from the motocross as well, and the
Yeah.
supercross, hopefully, eventually. Just on that note, let's keep it light a bit. Do you still follow it much? Do you still follow the
Oh, yeah, of
supercross? And
course.
yeah, so you
Of
watched
course, of
Darlington,
course.
and yeah. Have you
Yes, I
met any of
watch.
them guys? Have you
Oh,
met any of
yeah,
them?
yeah, yeah.
You know them all?
I know them, like, I also, like, in the commentating booth, when you have Ricky
Really?
Carmichael and James Stewart, I race with them. So,
Yeah,
like,
so that's cool,
those were
man. You're
my
proper
times.
there with Ricky, and that's cool. That is
Yeah.
so
But, like,
cool.
all the other
Richard,
guys there,
I
of course.
just want to introduce you to my boy, to Richard here.
Uh-huh.
Richard, you come and say hello to Steffi. He's going to stop. Say hello. Come here. Come here. Say hello.
Hi,
So
nice to meet
Richard's
you.
just started riding, haven't you? And he's got a little TC50, which to be honest, he's
Uh-huh.
got to go up now. He's got to get up onto the bigger ones, haven't you? You've got to get up to an 85 really. But we
Mhm.
will get there. I'm not pushing them too hard, to be honest. My friends of boys are like going all the time, because we have split time with my kids. I tend to let them go at their own pace,
Mhm.
because it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the thing is, for us watching the Supercross, I have to watch it in the middle of the night, or I don't have to, or I can't watch it. I have to wait and watch it on replay after I've been on the Sunday, and watch it when I get home, and hope that
Yeah.
no one at the track tells me what happened and who won and who crashed and whatever. Sometimes I might just get the 450 main and just quickly watch it before we go, you
Yeah.
know. But I do love the Lawrence brothers. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. Listen, Hayden Deegan's an amazing rider. They're all good, aren't they? Let's not lie. But yeah. So do you? That's one last question. So I'm gonna keep it light again. Do you ride at all? Then do you still go and get on a bike now and again, or do you not touch them at all?
I don't go on a motorcycle, mostly because I feel that my brain wants to still do what the body cannot do anymore.
Oh, okay. So you don't take the risk.
Yes, and like, so I choose not to own a motorcycle right now for that reason. But like every once in a while, I have some friends that they say, "Hey, we're gonna go ride. We
You
have
do a
an
bit of
extra
trail
bike.
riding.
Do you want to go?" And then I'll go with them. I guess the
Yeah.
next best thing that I do more often right now, also because is maybe a little bit easier, like you just can get it and go from your garage, is mountain
Yeah.
biking. So,
Yeah.
I do
Okay.
some of
Yeah.
that, like, every once in a
Yeah.
while, I enjoy that. Of course, I prefer the
Yeah.
single track, and the hills, like in
Yeah.
mountain biking because it's the closest thing to a motocross track.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So you still are very active. You're still getting out.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Even on a mountain bike. I mean, I relate to that. I mean,
yeah,
when I started when I was young, I was doing BMX. I was only like 5 or 6 when I was doing that first, and then went to the motocross.
yeah.
But listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Steffi. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much for coming on the show. This is Rose. Rose, this is my daughter. Say hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Rose. Nice to meet you.
This is Steffi.
Nice to meet you.
So
Yes.
Steffi's just going now. But yeah, so Rose does a bit of horse riding.
Good.
Nice.
But she does a lot actually. She does more horse riding than he does on the bike. But
I'm doing it this
you're doing it this Thursday. There you go. But yeah.
Nice.
So everybody likes to get out in the open, which is good.
Yes, it's always good to be outside for sure.
I'm just looking forward to it to stop raining. It was a wet one on Sunday, and
Ugh,
that was probably the reason for falling off. Anyway, everyone was falling off. It was one of them days, but it was good.
yeah.
Listen, Steffi, I'm gonna let you go. You're
Thank
amazing,
you.
and I'll
It's been a
speak.
pleasure, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing your
Thank you.
research because it's important, and look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you very much.
Oh,
See ya. I'll
thank you,
take
Ryan.
care. All right, bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.
Yeah.